Beautiful. Well, since it is right on 7 o'clock, I would like to thank all of you joining us tonight. We're very lucky to have Emma here from Bangalow Public School. Um, Essentially, firstly, I'm not Nikki. I'm not Nikki Bonus, as I'm sure you can see from the image. My name's Lucia Massaioli. I'm one of the customer success managers at Life Skills Go. And tonight we're going to be doing a little bit of a deep dive into Bangalow Public School's usage of Life Skills Go and their wellbeing journey in general. Essentially, I would like to start with an acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their continuous connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people present today. Just some quick housekeeping. This is an interactive webinar. If you have any questions or you would like something specifically covered, please feel free to pop that in the chat function or in the Q&A section, and we'll try our best to either answer those. We've got Nikki on the chat, and we've also got, we'll monitor those questions at the end of the webinar if we don't get a chance to get to them. You'll also receive a recording along with some supporting resources after this webinar. So please feel free to share those with any colleagues who might benefit. And I will also just mention we put a short survey in at the end of the webinar. If you'd like to see any specific webinar topics, at the end of this term or next year, please fill that out as that helps us to improve what we have to offer. Beautiful. So just getting started, Emma, I would love to sort of throw you straight in the deep end. And if you could give us a brief overview of Bangalow Public School, where you're situated in New South Wales, how many students you have, and what your role looks like, maybe in like a bit of a day snapshot as assistant principal.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Lucia. Hi, everyone. My name's Emma Whiting, and I'm from Bangalow Public School, which is just situated inland of Byron Bay. Beautiful school, beautiful area. We've got 296 students at the moment, and we go K to 6, obviously. We have kindergarten separately, and then we're in stages, but we have a few cross stages as well, which creates a bit of issues, but that's okay. I'm the assistant principal of learning, was the assistant principal of learning and support, went on maternity leave and have come back to be the assistant principal of Wellbeing and stage 3. So that's a role I've taken on this year. So we've been using Life Skills Go for a while now. And we are looking at updating all our wellbeing policies and everything at the moment too. So this is a great time to jump in and have a big chat about how we're going and where we're going to next.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And I love the specific enrollment number. I feel like that's so perfect. Like, not around 300. We've got 296. It's so good.
The difference in those kids makes a huge difference to us in a smallish school.
Oh, it does, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's just perfect. Before we get into any further details, I'd love to know what student wellbeing sort of means to you, specifically as a leader as well, and why it's, a main focus for Bangalow Public School.
Yeah, sure. I think for me, it's about making sure every child in your class and in your school, from a leadership perspective, feels safe, connected, and valued. We know that when those foundations are strong and kids are feeling those things, that's when we get the learning happening. I think there's a really big push, obviously, at the moment, just with how full the syllabus is and continues to seems to continue getting, that I feel like wellbeing is just such an important thing at the moment, and those student connections. we use, to give some context, at our school, we're a PB for L school, so positive behaviour for learning. We use that as like the what, the clear expectations and consistency. We use life skills goes as kind of like our tools and lessons, and then we are moving into restorative practices too as kind of like the how, the relational way of teaching them. So we feel like together, yeah, we've got a pretty great 360 degree of behaviour and wellbeing.
Beautiful. Yeah, it sounds like you've got holistic sort of overview of that well-being and also supporting the student there.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving that sort of overview. I suppose I know you as a school are using School Bytes
Mhm.
and life skills go within School Bytes. I'd love to know what sort of prompted your school to bring the program in and how it's aligning and continuing to align with your broader wellbeing goals.
Yep. So I think because we have used Life Skills Go for a while now. Um, the biggest thing I think that we've noticed having it through School Bytes has just been the ease of use. So just having that one platform for teachers and staff has been massive. It's just made it more visible for teachers and just promoted that ownership, I guess. They have access to it every day, which I guess it's on the forefront of their mind. It's really just supported consistency and just embedded into our wellbeing routines now. So,
Beautiful. I would love to hear sort of an example of how the daily check-ins have supported connection and belonging, for either a specific student or a group of students.
yeah. Um, I guess it allows us to just make sure we're really catching small things before they escalate. So having those check-ins, like, some people are using them in the morning, some people are using them after break times and things like that. It's been really good. I know with my class, I kind of use it for both. When I taught 3-4 and there was, consistent issues on the playground, I'd always make them do a check-in when they got in from lunch. I found that really positive because it allowed me to catch anything little that was happening on the playground. I was hearing about their emotions, and I guess they were flagging it before they went home and told their parents, and then it was an email that I was getting the next day. So it's really allowed us to, I guess, intervene with the small things before they've escalated. I also was having a chat to my 5-6 class about how they feel like it's helped them, like just kind of opened up the conversation with them, which was actually really interesting. And they said it's been the one thing that has actually made them stop and consider their feelings and emotions. So I guess in a world that is so fast paced now, and I know as a mum of two, our mornings are quite crazy. I think they really enjoy the check-in in the morning because it has made them stop and consider how they're actually feeling. And they said that it feels the connection with me is it feels really positive because they feel like they feel like I care and that's I'm making the time to do that, and they know that I will follow up if I need to.
Wow, that's huge. And I love the fact that you even had that conversation with them. Like that's something that I think most teachers don't really get the opportunity to stop and also reflect on, certain programs or well-being things you're doing to be able to get their perspective on it as well is obviously so important. It's a
Yeah, I
student
just
voice tool.
yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say, I just thought it was really interesting that that was their like probably their most consistent takeaway was like, oh, we just feel like it actually makes us stop and consider how we're feeling. Otherwise,
Mm.
we're just kind of caught up in the rat race.
Yeah. And it makes me think about, like, as well as an adult, like, how many times do we get to stop and reflect on how we're doing? The biggest thing we say is emotions come and go, but being able to have a moment to stop and check in with yourself and self-regulate is
Yeah.
non-existent in the world that we live in at the
Yeah.
moment unless you really prioritize it. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. That's a
Yeah.
perspective I don't think I've heard before. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, beautiful. I suppose next, I'd love to know how you're able to, so having access to real-time wellbeing data through School Bytes and Life Skills Go gives schools a new level of visibility. So, in the busy world that we have, as you mentioned, very contemporary, um, we're getting new issues, and I suppose technology like this gives us a new level of visibility. So I'd like to know how this has helped you and your leadership team identify emerging needs or respond early to student concerns.
Yeah. I guess we know that like anxiety is on the rise. In adults and children, it's so common now that we really, when we started collecting the data, it showed a really clear picture of the kids and just how many kids were actually struggling within the school, coming into school not feeling ready to learn, coming into school and maybe feeling overwhelmed already, or coming into school and feeling tired or sad. That I guess was kind of the push we needed in the right direction to be like, okay, we know that these kids are struggling now. What are we going to do about it? So it allows for that, I guess, that kind of early intervention. For us, it led to proactive initiatives like, using the Life Skills Go lesson and really looking at what we were doing about our wellbeing policy and procedures and, changing them. It also led us to use and dig into more, I guess, the anxiety project. So we've been able now to use Life Skills Go and the Anxiety Project lessons to make a really comprehensive guide to teaching emotions. So yeah, I think just having that data has been, really, really positive for us, and it's really led us to be proactive in making some changes.
Yeah, that's so good to hear. And I'm so excited to see how you sort of use it to inform future practices as well, especially
Yeah.
like as we're introducing the surveys feature, like when you mentioned
Mm,
anxiety, which I know we'll speak about later this term, but one of the great things about the new surveys feature is that it'll recommend a survey based on the check-in data.
yeah.
So if a certain percentage of your students are checking in that sort of anxious area, it'll recommend the anxiety survey to really dive a little bit deeper and find out what maybe some of the root causes might be.
And I
Um,
think our kids are really, it will be great because I think our kids are really ready to take that next step too. I think they're quite aware, like they know what the check-ins are, they know why we do them, they know it allows them a chance to reflect on how they're feeling. And I think, yeah, this next step will be fantastic for our kids.
yeah, awesome. I'd love if you could describe a moment where the Life Skills Go data prompted a bit more of a proactive response. I know you touched on this just then, or an intervention specifically in a situation where it might not have been possible before.
Yeah. This, when I looked at this question, there's one student and one incident, I guess, that came to mind. Um, and this was before we were using it with School Bytes or anything, when we were just using Life Skills Go standalone and we're doing the check-ins. But we have a student at our school who comes from a trauma background. He has been through quite a varied life with various trauma incidents, and had moved to our school, had been having issues in the other class, got moved into my class, and had been presenting really well in the classroom. I had connected with him really well. He was really stepping up in his work. He's seemed so much happier. He had made friends. Yeah, no issues on the playground, was chatting more to teachers and things like that. And it wasn't until, and this was early days, this was years ago now, and it wasn't until I actually went through his check-in data that I realized he was checking in like pretty negative check-ins almost every day. So it really prompted me to go, hey, like, what's going on here? He's presenting that he's really happy. He's presenting in a much more positive light than he was. But it allowed me, I guess, to check in, to reach out to home, to find out. And turned out that there were massive changes going on at home. I think without that data, I probably wouldn't have, well, I might have eventually picked up on it, but it allowed me for a really timely opportunity to pick up on that. So I was able to follow up with mum, find out what was going on, put things in place for him, and then it kind of really prompted me to be I guess on top of the data and making sure I was checking it frequently, not just for him but for all the kids.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you've touched on like quite a few important points there. Obviously, having that understanding for the student that it's a safe space for them to share their emotions. Like
Yeah.
Tick, you as a teacher did that perfectly. If that child feels like it is a safe place for them to share. And
Mm.
also, having that student that is typically masking in the environment, like engaging, is interacting, but they're obviously asking for help. I guess having that avenue for them to be able to reach out and that point of connection with you is also huge.
And I think too, sorry to butt in, but I think the students love it too. We check in on individual devices, and I think they feel a sense of comfort with that as well, that they know that I'll see it, but they know that they can check in open and honestly because they're on their own device. They're not having to share that with anyone else.
Yeah, definitely. And that is a really great option. And we find that specifically some of the older kids, as you introduce some additional emotions, they feel like that privacy is definitely something that is, respected. And, you've got that respected relationship between the teacher and, that student as well. So that's
Yeah.
really good to hear. On the topic of School Bytes in general, I'd love to know, how has the School Bytes integration supported you in managing that wellbeing data more efficiently? So you get a lot of data. We say there's no point in data for data's sake. So we hope that it reduces the workload while also maintaining that visibility for the teachers on a daily basis, but also executives.
Yeah, I think the data is so easily visible on School Bytes. The rings that come up, I from the feedback from our staff is that they find it just so easy and so easy to see a really clear snapshot of how their kids are at that point in time. For us, it's been a big push too, because we have access to this data now and teachers are aware of it. This has happened really naturally, that teachers are way more interested in it now within our school. So we've actually made that a really big focus too in our team meetings. Myself and the other APs, that's kind of our first point of call, is we have a look at the snapshot of data, and that's just our whole first starting point is wellbeing and looking at the data. It's been interesting too to see if we can see any patterns with the checking data and absences. And I know you were mentioning to me today this triangulation of data that's going to be coming out, the wellbeing, behaviour and absences. Like, this is speaking our language. We love this idea. And then I guess too, it gives us a really clear reference point, a visible, tangible reference point for wellbeing when we need to communicate concerns and things like that with families or other teachers and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the fact that you also just focus on the practicality of it, being able to communicate with the community and also use it to maybe even change the dialogue around. That's one of the benefits of having student voice data, is it's directly from that individual student. In regards to data, I'd love to know how you're using the wellbeing dashboards. As you mentioned, you've got the rings and the reports to inform more on a whole school level planning. You mentioned it's part of your agenda in like meetings. I'd love to know, are those stage meetings or support team discussions?
stage meetings, and that comes up in learning and support quite a lot. We're also using, so I think for a long time we've used the check-in side of things. And I think, like I said before, naturally our staff have come on board with that, and it's just part of our routines now, which is great. In terms of school planning, so as I said, I've come in this year and taken over Wellbeing, and we are ready to kind of move and just, I guess, reconfigure our wellbeing policies and procedures. So I've really been using the lessons a lot this year as well, with a whole school focus. So I've been planning for all our staff just a half an hour kind of block a week, and putting one of the Life Skills Go lessons in there. So that has been like fantastic. The kids are really engaged with the lessons. We've kind of had a scope and sequence that we've followed throughout the year. For our kind of K-2 students, the lessons are really easy. They're not overly long or anything. There's great videos and clips. And then, for our 3 to 6, they can do it self-paced and directed, which is great. So I think in terms of whole school planning, whilst we're using the reports to look at the data and all of that too, we have had a really big focus this year on the lessons as well.
That's so great to hear as well. Like, I love the way that you sort of highlighted the fact that it's a different approach for different, stages. So you got that K-2 aspect. And then, there's the functionality of having, again, those individual devices for the older students, and also that sort of agency and accountability over their own social emotional learning. I love to hear that. That's so good. You touched briefly on, the student's perspective. I'd love to know what impact it's having the check-ins and hearing directly from the students through their check-ins has had on leadership decision making or, classroom practice at Bangalow Public School.
I think looking at the data, it's pushed us to do a few things. So I think one of the big things is it's made us consider, if our kids are checking in and saying that they're not in a space where they're ready to learn, it's really made us rethink why we're pushing lessons when they're sitting in that space and what we're going to do to get them out of that space and get them in a space where they're ready to learn. I guess too, from a teacher's perspective, and a few teachers have commented on this, the data gives them the backup to justify why their day might look a little bit different to the teacher next to them. So we know often in schools it is we would like to have it as a one model fits all, but it's not really the case. And I guess teachers feel, in our situation anyway, that this is giving them a little bit more justification to make their day suit their students as opposed to it suiting us. So that's probably been the biggest impact. And then I guess just also, like the kids were saying when I asked them, it's just made them actually stop and think about how they're feeling. So if we know that the students are checking in and it's open and it's honest, it's really made us think about, how we model our classroom or how we help the students get to a space where they're ready to learn.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I hear there is also the fact that the teachers really understand why you're doing this as well. And it sounds like there's a lot of ownership as a whole school community in doing the check-in. And I think, you've highlighted a lot of really important factors about how it can also help them to be informed and also, maybe change their approach to the lesson or the day, because you need to know what you're walking into. And to also feel like you're supported. I think sounds like as an executive team, you've also let them know that you're there to also look at that data and respond and resource as needed.
Yeah.
I'd love to know how you help to ensure that your wellbeing approach is like through Life Skills Go and School Bytes reaches and supports every learner, including diverse and support classes.
Yeah, so I think like I touched on earlier, um I guess how our wellbeing program looks, I guess that's what we would call it. And what we're really pushing for is, yeah, we've got our positive behaviour for learning, which is our what, our restorative practices, which is our how, and our Life Skills Go, which is our tools and lessons. We have really pushed this year, like I said before, for the lessons and helping teachers use the lessons, getting the kids around it too. And I guess just having those lessons run from kindergarten all the way to year 6, we are really trying to make sure we're covering and catering for all our students. Having it embedded into our programs, I think, has made a really big difference this year. So I create the lesson for them, give them the lesson, and it links to, we have a PB for L focus, we have our Life Skills Go focus, and we have our learner disposition focus. It's just really become common language, I guess, throughout the school now, and it is the expectation that teachers will do one of those lessons a week. So it's not, we're trying to get to the stage where it's not like some kids are getting it, some kids aren't. We're really trying to make it consistent through the school. And I guess it's this whole concept and idea of us like always trying to even the playing field for our students. And I really do feel like the Life Skills Go platform, especially through School Bytes, allows us to kind of do that. We want, everyone to feel safe and supported. We want those kids that might not feel comfortable checking in with you or voicing that an issue's happened. We're giving them a chance to be able to do that. We're catering to the students with the lessons, and some teachers, even in their classrooms, will do the lessons and have that option that kids can come and sit and do the lesson with them, while others are doing it on the computer and working at their own pace.
That's so good.
I feel, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, definitely. And
Yeah.
I think it's just the holistic approach, everybody, like you said, leveling the playing field and making sure every student is supported in the same way. I suppose, just to go a bit wild here, I'd love to know sort of a little bit about your planning process for the lessons then. Is that sort of like on a termly basis based on how the students are progressing?
Yeah, it is. So I plan them, I kind of do a scope and sequence, and I know that you guys have your amazing scope and sequences online. I just try and link it to what we're doing as our PB for L focuses as well, and what we're doing with the anxiety project. So it's a really kind of, I guess, comprehensive guide. I give the teachers the overview, but I also plan the lessons for them each week. So it's pretty straightforward in the sense that, like, here's the lesson, this is what we're focusing on. The teachers don't have to do too much digging around in the platform. Yeah, it's all, they kind of know exactly what they're doing. And we try and do, when I started planning the lessons, I did look at the units, so it could go in sequence as well, based on what you guys had suggested in the platform.
Yeah, awesome. Great to hear. And it sounds like you've got like a really good overview of making sure that the programs are also complementary.
Yeah,
Which
definitely.
is,
yeah.
Which obviously they need to be. So good.
Yeah.
As you sort of look towards planning for next year, what are your next steps for sort of further embedding the proactive wellbeing approach of Life Skills Go and School Bytes?
Yeah. So I think I feel like we're still on a journey with Life Skills Go. I think we've made huge improvements in it, and most teachers are using it. I would say all teachers are using the check-ins. Most teachers are using the lessons, but again, it's what I provide for them. So I guess it's just about getting our teachers to use it on a little bit more of a deeper level. We're kind of changing how we're doing the start of our year. Something that I'm working on is giving teachers a pack for the first 4 weeks. I know I said this before, but I feel really strongly about it at the moment. The syllabus is just so full that teachers are just feeling overwhelmed trying to get units done and cramming, or, anything and everything that they need to in, that I feel like there has been a bit of a loss of relationship building and relational currency and that wellbeing focus. So our focus for the first 4 weeks of next year is really wellbeing. So teachers will get packs with, these are the non-negotiables, these are the things you need to do, but some of the stuff is like building in check-ins at certain points through the day. That will just be non-negotiable. So we really want to set, I guess, in the first 4 weeks that these are the expectations in our school, and just really have it as common language. I really want to push the teachers to have a bit more of an explore through the lessons, so they can, I guess, analyze the data and see that they've got kids in certain spaces, and then know where to go to pick out lessons that might help bring students back to a place of being ready to learn. I think we'll really push for setting up the scope and sequence again and moving through the lessons, because I think that's been really positive this year. It's been nice to know that we're all focusing on the same lesson, whether it's kinder all the way to year 6, we're all focusing on this one particular lesson. Because it has meant that the language throughout the school has been shared, and we often will mention it at assemblies and things like that as well. Like I said before too, I'm really excited about this concept that you spoke about today with the triangulated attendance, behaviour, wellbeing reports. So I think that will be a really exciting space for us to look at too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you touched on a really important point there, which is the curriculum is probably ever growing, and there's always going to be a lot on our plates. But I think prioritizing well-being, from the start, and also having that opportunity to connect with your students at the beginning of the year will ultimately help with the learning outcomes. If we ran some webinars in National Check-in Week with a neuroscientist, Dr. Mark Williams, and he was talking about sort of the science behind connection. So if the students aren't feeling connected with the teacher, they're less likely to actually learn. Actually, in fact, they won't learn. And it's really interesting sort of having that reinforced with science, the fact that if well-being isn't prioritized, there's no opportunity for learning for that student, and they're not going to be in a state of readiness to learn. So
and I think it is so evident, and I feel like it is a common thing that you talk about with teachers at the moment, that everyone is just feeling so much pressure just with how full everything is. And it is the one thing, I know even for me, it is the one thing that can slip if you let it. It's that I don't have time to do the check-in because I've got to get on with maths or whatever. So really prioritizing that, I think, and like I said, just making it a really common or consistent approach through the school, and it's one of our non-negotiables, and that common language, I think, is important.
Definitely. I'd love to know why you sort of feel data-informed wellbeing is now essential for schools.
I think one of the biggest things is we can't just rely on those gut feelings anymore. So I think in a time a while ago, we had gut feelings about things that was enough to kind of act on it. Now it's like it's not really enough. We need an evidence base to inform where we're going next, I guess. So I guess it really moves wellbeing from that gut feeling to having evidence behind it, to make sure our decisions are appropriate, and that we're not just assuming things. Like I mentioned before with the story about that little boy, like kids are so good at masking and hiding things, and we can make assumptions, I guess, too, at times. So it just gives us a really transparent way to see things. I
Yeah.
think too, it gives us chance to identify patterns and early warning signs and things like that to intervene. And I know I know I spoke about that earlier too, but I think that's been one of the biggest things for us as a school is it's supported us to intervene and not let things get out of hand because we're being able to get on top of them early. I think the other thing is it really empowers staff through visibility. I think having your staff be able to see the data, be in control, like not in control of the data, but they're seeing it on their dashboards. It's something we talk about as a school. It's something we talk about in team meetings. I think that's a really important part as well.
It sounds like you've just sort of integrated it in like the whole school sort of community. And I think
Yeah.
just the fact that it's, like you mentioned, in those meetings, the students know why, the teachers know why, the teachers have that agency to review their own data, and the common language that you're creating through the lessons and through the check-in, I think shows that, you know, you're giving them the steps to be able to build that emotional literacy and self-regulation.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
even sorry,
sorry, you go.
continue.
No, you go.
Oh no, I was just going to even say, I was chatting to one of the stage one teachers today just about what I was doing tonight and how I was, really reflecting on our journey. And she said, "Oh, do you know?" And I guess because I teach 5-6, it's different. But she said, "Oh, do you know one of the most amazing things that I've done recently?" She said, in stage one, we start with just the few emotions for us to check in with." And she said the kids are now asking for more emotions because they have such a better understanding that it's not just happy, sad, tired, whatever. She said they're actually saying like, "Oh, well, I'm actually feeling this and that's not on there." So she said she's had to go and open up a heap of the additional feelings and emotions, so they can check in more accurately as her stage ones have requested. And I was like, that's pretty amazing.
I love that. And it's also the agency of their own emotions, you know. And we know that there's like we start with the basic six. We know as humans there's not just six emotions.
Yeah.
And it's so brilliant when the students start going, "But I'm not feeling one of these. I want more." And you sort of go, "Well, you know, what would you like?" And giving them that opportunity
Yeah.
to add and change what they're saying, I think is such a cool process in itself. Um, Such a gift, and I love that
Yeah.
perspective of the stage ones as well. It's usually the younger ones who start going, "This isn't enough."
Yeah. Yeah.
So good. Just finally, if you could offer one piece of advice to school leaders or school leaders or people reflecting on well-being, um, who are maybe just beginning their journey with life skills go, what do you think that would be?
Probably just start. I feel like we can make it so much bigger in our head and it can become it's like, oh, when are we going to start? How are we going to get all the staff on? What are we going to do if we get staff pushback and things like that? And sometimes I think you just have to bite the bullet. And like I've said a few times, I think ours has really progressed naturally, which has been nice. Maybe a little bit slower than we would hope for, but at the end it's been a natural progression and we're in a good space now, and now we're looking for the next kind of how to continue on our journey, I guess. So yeah, my advice would be just start, even if it's just putting it out there so some teachers can explore with the check-ins and see how they go. We know that in every cohort of staff, there'll be those people that are so keen. So they'll be the ones that give it a go. And we know that it's a great platform and that the kids will get a lot out of it. The teachers will get a lot out of it. So it will snowball pretty quickly, I'd say, that you will have other teachers wanting to try it too.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because that's usually like our mantra when doing implementation training with schools. It's, be slow but deliberate. And just getting started is also a win.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that's something we hear really often. It's the fact that you don't have to go in all at once. As you mentioned, like the platform is actually quite extensive, and most
Mm,
people just see the emotion check-in, but you have those lessons and additional resources. Doesn't mean you need to run at them. Um, they usually do naturally progress as you start
mm,
to go through, the process. And no, I think that's very, very helpful in terms of, just getting started. It's sort of like when you've got writer's block and you just need to just get
yeah.
started and then
Rip the
it'll
band-aid
come.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And I
No,
think too,
beautiful.
I think one of I think back to the early days for us, and probably one of the biggest things was teachers. I know I do it too. Like, how is this going to fit into my day? I can't fit another thing into my day. And I think once you get that ball rolling, it's good for teachers to see. It honestly takes my kids like, what, 2 minutes for them to check in the morning or something. So just even, yeah, starting with those check-ins, having a few people experiment with it. After they experiment with it 5 times, they will see that the time has gotten significantly shorter. And then, yeah, hopefully word spreads.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think that's such a good point is, with anything new, it'll take a little bit of time to, sort it out, and the students might take 5 to 10 minutes. But once you've got that habit in place, it's like second nature for them, especially
Yeah,
with how well kids use technology these days. Like it's a simple
yeah,
process. Yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful. Well, firstly, I'd just like to say, Emma, thank you so much for joining on. I very much
No
look forward to
problems.
supporting you guys in the next steps and showing you that custom reporting piece along with many other things as you naturally progress in your usage of
Yeah.
life skills go. Thank you for dedicating your time this afternoon and well, tonight. And we really appreciate your expertise in this area. I wish you all the best in term 4, and I hope it all wraps up nicely. Um, and thank you for everybody who's joined on tonight. We will be sending out the recording in case you had to pop in and out or you were cooking dinner, along with some supporting resources. If you could please fill out the survey, just to give us some feedback and help us to improve any future webinars. And one last big thank you to Emma. And I
Thank
hope you have
you. Thank you, guys. Hopefully I did it justice. I was a little bit nervous at the start, so